is the mayor's report. I'll keep it really brief. Last week I spent all week down in Olympia. I was at the Association of Washington Communities Legislative Conference, and where Senator Melosha talked about some of the issues that were brought up. They were talking about the Public Works Trust Fund and trying to make sure that that doesn't get swept again. Transportation package was a lot of the conversation, as well as one of the representatives from AWC said that 900 marijuana legislative bills that are there was a lot of discussion about that. There was an opportunity as well where we all met on Thursday morning. They had a big tent out on the lawn, and we had different representatives and senators come in, and also had people from the Liquor Control Board that was there discussing all the flaws that are in the marijuana legislation that's already in place. And so they're looking at how they can address all of those things as well. I talked on the Curry decision, pretty much everything I think Senator Melosha touched on was discussed down there, and different workshops on those issues as well. The Southern Cities Association meeting was last week. I'll just talk about that now. There are a couple things that we'll need council to weigh in on our position on how you would like me to vote at our next meeting, and you'll see those items on your workshop agenda so we can discuss them. And so I will know council's intent moving forward. Also, the Some Cities Association Networking Dinner is going to be this Wednesday at the Rent Pavilion. You're still able to register and go if you'd like. Tickets are $50 if you are a member, and King County Executive Dow Constantine will be the guest speaker. It's a really good event. I attend just about all of them, and it's a great opportunity to network with other council members and mayors from other cities. Talk about issues. It's mostly just a socializing thing until time to speak to it. So anyway, it's a great opportunity, and I would really encourage council members to attend, at least in the future. It would be great. With that, that's all that I really have to report on at this time. Next up, we have our city administrator.
Good evening. The next uniform union negotiations are scheduled for this Thursday at 9:30. I'll be meeting with the council tonight in executive session to discuss the current status of these negotiations. The Public Works and Clerical CBA negotiations will begin sometime in March. We haven't hammered out a day yet, but once we do, we'll bring it before the council in executive session. Lance and Jack are currently working with me in preparation for this. We hope to have some proposals sometime in March for you to look at. I don't know if you're aware, but their contract expires on June 30th. I met with the Parks Board last Wednesday, among other staff, and my portion was regarding the 2015 budget, the Parks Capital Fund balance, and the final maintenance park figures for 2014. They were interested in receiving various periodical reports regarding individual park maintenance costs, labor, and supply related, which I plan to prepare in April for the first quarter financial reports, as the system will allow me to do. And I'm working with Lance on this as well. Staff is currently working on the final version of the 2014 year-end financial report. The plan is to bring it before council next week, next Monday's workshop, to review it. The Finance Committee did meet and discuss this last Thursday. Two of the financial staff attended a training conference in Spokane last week for 3.5 days. And it was put on by our financial software company, Bias. There were state auditors who were giving classes there, and one of the significant training issues that came up was internal controls, and which our city's been pretty strong on, but there's even more that they're finding areas to look at, so we're going to be changing some of the forms to make sure that they get signed off on properly. Okay, last week I spoke with a former staffer from Auburn regarding IT services, and more of this will come up. I brought it up at the technology committee meeting, but we're going to have to look into possibility of having to change services. 2 cities have been canceled by Auburn, Black Diamond and Milton, and I did talk to Auburn, and so far they haven't said it's going to get changed, but we're working with Ron Tiedemann and possibly Milton to look into that. And as I have more information, I'll present it to the mayor and to the technology committee. And I talked about this last time, how accounts payable runs are hard to get to over the weekend, so I worked with staff to prepare a report to send to the committee members for the finance committee as well as the mayor and the city clerk. And according to a couple of the council members I met with on Thursday, they seem to like that as far as just looking at that report, and if they have any questions, they can email me or they can get things pulled as necessary. So I'm going to look at the code and make sure if we need to strengthen that area, we will. And I'll talk with our city attorney about that. So, is there any other questions? That's all I have on my report.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
So next up, the court statistics are in your packet. Community service.
Good evening. Enclosed, you will find the packet for the January Senior Center numbers for January. Last week, the youth already had hers turned in. The youth program in the Senior Center had their Valentine's Day party on Thursday, the Thursday before Valentine's Day. The youth side had 19 kids, and they did their Valentine exchange and movie and refreshments. The Senior Center had 20 seniors at the party. We had did several games, refreshments, and LPAC also donated pizza to have at our party. LPAC just walked in and had 2 pizzas. I didn't solicitate the donation, they just walked in. Thought that was very wonderful. Meals on Wheels for the City of Pacific and Algona, as you know, we have 2 deliveries this month. I tried to get several more of our seniors signed up for the Meals on Wheels. We'll see how their paperwork goes. I was contacted by the Pierre County Health for the diabetic blood screening. It's going to be held Monday, March 2nd, sorry. It was on the 9th, but they did change the date. From 10 till 12 in the multi-purpose room in the Senior Center. It's free to the whole public and the employees of the city. You just have to be over 18. And the second annual Citizens Appreciation Dinner will be held March 28th. The doors open at 4:30, dinner from 5 to 7. Tickets are $10, $5 for children 12 and under. Family tickets with 5 members or under are $25. The menu is to be pulled pork, baked beans, and coleslaw. I'm accepting nominations for the the Citizen of the Year by March 16th. And so far, I just have 2 nominations. I do ask 2 favors of the City Council tonight. If we could get volunteers to sign up to help with our meal on that night. There was a sign-in sheet going around. And then also to be on the committee to nominate the to nominate the Citizen of the Year. I believe that our citizen needs to be chosen by a pillar of our community. And I also have tickets on sale, Joanne and I do, for the event.
Okay. Questions? Councilmember Jones.
Talking about the tickets for families of 5 at $25. Can somebody donate money for tickets like that? So
Oh, yes.
if somebody knows somebody that can't afford but like to cut a check.
Yes. And if you want to donate those and have like a specific person, I can contact that person. If you want to do it anonymously or however you choose to do it, yes, we are. That is a very good idea. Katie Gabardine had that idea at our Human Services Committee meeting. I think that's a great opportunity.
Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you. Okay, Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. A few things to report, the goings-on in Public Works. Like the City Administrator had mentioned in his report, I too was at the Parks Board meeting last week, and one of the issues that was discussed was the maintenance of the parks and the community. So we had a real good dialogue about that. With the weather the way it's been here, with a very mild winter, I'm pleased to report we are out maintaining the parks, and one of the things that you will see is there'll be a lot of activity with some of the upkeep, some of the policing of the grounds, the normal upkeep that you would expect, removing trash and all of those normal things, but also a little bit of extra attention, cleaning the park benches, cleaning the tables, pressure washing them, and then sealing them for the future so they'll last a little bit longer, and then just some other needed maintenance and repairs. So that message was received very well at the board, and we're just carrying on, and we'll be reporting regularly on this topic. Another item that occurred last week, actually about 10 days ago, there was a fire hydrant that was hit off of Skinner Road and 4th by Pacific Apartments, and unfortunately that required us to dispatch a crew to do the maintenance and make the repairs for that. So if you saw that going on, that's what that was about. Other item that will come back to you again in the near future and will be discussed in greater detail at the Public Works Committee on March 4th is the city engineer and myself attended an update from the designing engineering firm for the West Valley project, both the Pierce County segment as well as the King County segment. I won't cover a lot of detail, but it was about a 10% check-in just to show some of the initial alignment and some of the challenges that they're seeing, and that we'll be talking in more detail with the Public Works Committee coming up very soon. I'll wrap up with two last things. There was staff attended training over in Yakima for the water licenses that some of the staff members have to hold because of Department of Health certification requirements. So this is an ongoing continuing education commitment, and so this was an opportunity to earn some of those continuous education credits. Very good class, a lot of good knowledge, and of course, you always bring back something new and translates into some additional attention that we'll have to spend somewhere. Finally, in wrapping up, just as an efficiency measure, this was very near and dear to my heart, and it doesn't resonate as a rah-rah, but it is a true efficiency measure. Did a lot of the electronic filing and updating of some of the Public Works electronic record keeping, as well as community development. I give Jack Dodge some credit for he and his staff. We've been collaborating behind the scenes to make some improvements on the way we're managing our electronic records, and that was instituted late last week, and we're about 85% through the process with a little bit more to go. So that's the report tonight. If there's any questions.
Good job on that. Questions, Council? Thank you. Okay, community development.
Mayor, council members, I'd also like to give Lance quite a bit of credit in helping on electronic files. He took the bull by the horns while everybody else was hard at work, but he was doing some great work that we need to have done, and we'll be fine-tuning the electronic files and community development in the near future. We have a nice little index how we're going to be doing it. So that's good credit to Lance for taking the bull by the horns and getting it started and show how it can be done. In terms of what I'm looking at, Parks Board, they had a lot of staff there at their last meeting. I was there also, plus another staff member. I didn't have as much to say in regards to what was some of the items on the agenda as Richard and Lance, but the main thing I was discussed was Morgan property. I'll be going to a meeting on March 3rd in Mercer Island to meet with King County and also the CFT board to find out whether we keep the funding for purchasing the park or not. Hopefully we have a strong enough case because of the amount of work that we've done to date on it to try to get things resolved that will keep the funds. If that doesn't work, if they turn the funds back, then we have been told that we are a very good candidate to get them again in the near future. So we'll keep you apprised of that situation. Tomorrow night, second item, tomorrow night, Planning Commission have some fun items on the agenda if you'd really like to show up. We'll be holding a public hearing regarding a wholesale change to our codes regarding legal non-conforming uses. And that'll be the Planning Commission's public hearing, and we'll see how many people show up for that scintillating topic. We also have before the Planning Commission the first drafts of changes to the comprehensive plan elements for the natural environment and transportation for the updates to the comp plan as called out in our GMA grant that we received quite a while back, but it looks like we'll be able to keep the grant monies and get some other work done, but we're on a very tight timeline because of the state funding cycle. But they'll be taking a look at those two items tomorrow night. Both the revisions to the Parks Plan, or to the Natural Environment Plan and Transportation Plan are on the city's website. So you can take a look and see what's coming up with the Planning Commission tomorrow, as well as the public if they would like to take a look at that. I think the key thing we were looking at on natural environment, we're looking at biodiversity in our comprehensive plan and how that would be applied sometime in the future, during the future. Last item I'm going to speak of, which will be coming back to you probably in a couple weeks or probably at the latest month, is get the, I would say, the formal adoption of the Shoreline Master Program by ordinance. Been talking with Carol, and she's working on the ordinance to put it together so we can finally put that to bed, and we have a formal ordinance in the book.
We get a presentation too?
Only if you want one. I can put together an easy 1-hour presentation for you folks. Plenty of pictures.
Presentation on the Shoreline Master.
So anyways, that's the gist of my report.
Great. Question? Councilmember
Yeah,
Dale?
just one, well, kind of one. In relation to the city park, have we communicated with King County yet about scheduling and opening? Because I know it was a very costly endeavor last year, and there were some concerns that whether they were going to fund it in the future. And then the issue relates to that is, because it is King County property, and we have a structure in there that we don't use anymore, as far as the bathrooms, as well as some of the other facilities. Like, if my mind's eye, I see King County ultimately not supporting financially to open and close access to that park at some point. And that we need to think about the possibility of a long-term future of having to remove the equipment that we paid for from that area, as well as dismantling the stand, and as well as the building itself, closing off the sewer lines, because we don't want any backflush when, in fact, it's used as a floodplain. Because it's my understanding that they pushed back even more years dealing with the east side of the river. From letters I'm getting, contacts from the people who live in White River Estates. I have worked with a gentleman who lives there, got a letter from King County saying that they're pushing back a couple more years. So there's a lot of things that I'm, related to that area and the impact of the city that I think we need to be aware of.
Well, and I wasn't sure which one needed to address that.
Well, I don't either, that's why. He brought up the park.
I think we both can address it.
They've been working on it.
Okay.
Right. And in terms of the levee improvements, I'm working with the King County Flood Control District right now on the levee improvements on the left bank, and that's as if you're looking downstream on the river. And they're looking to get going this summer on improvements. I think what they've done is that they're working with Burlington Northern to do the initial start of the work up by the bridge on the levees there, and then they'll be going in after Burlington Northern. So we've been working with Burlington Northern on that. So in terms of the right bank, that has been pushed off. They're looking at now 2017 for working there, and they haven't even yet come up with the design how that levee would look like and how it worked. They'll be working with the city on how that would work and how we would work with the park. Their initial comments were they were going to use the park as the expansion of the floodplain and take all structures out of the park, but there's been some pushback from staff because of the fact that is our park. That's a only neighborhood or community park that we do have, and it's very well used in the summer by the residents, and it's used for our Pacific Days. So to completely close that off to an active park, make it a passive park, as far as staff is concerned, it's unacceptable. So there is pushback. So we'll be working quite a bit with King County, with the flood control district in the future on how that's going to look on that right bank levee. And as you may know, we're as part of this whole levee improvement, we're pushing pretty hard in providing a loop trail system along the White River too, and we're negotiating with the county and also with Burlington Northern at this point of time on how that could be done. So it's a work in progress, you might say.
And the funding piece of it.
I think I'll just add a quick comment on short term as far as the opening and the cost sharing, if there is a cost sharing. That's on my to-do list, so I will have to come back and report to council what King County's position or the flood district's position is on that. But it is on my to-do list, and I'll report back.
Okay. I just wanted to bring it up so we yeah.
Councilmember King.
I've got some of the documents that I've been reading that King County was going to turn that area over at some point in time.
They want it back. They want to use it as flood protection. And so, and I've been pushing back with that and having conversations in various
But we
departments.
have something in writing from the past that say it was going to be turned over to us, do we not?
Released it back in 2017. And so we're working with King County, various departments of King County, because there's the flood department, the park department. And so getting everybody to talk to each other and trying to work these things out. But we're getting support from departments in King County, but not, it's still a lot to work out because of the flooding issues. So we're trying to get there. Further questions from council?